Chapter 9 of The Money Moon. This recording is in the public domain. The Money Moon, a Romance, by Geoffrey Farnell. Chapter 9, in which may be found some description of Arcadia, and gooseberries. Anthea, leaning on her rake in a shady corner of the 5-acre field, turned to watch Bellew who, stripped to his shirt sleeves, bare of neck and arm, and pitchfork in hand, was busy tossing up great mounds of sweet-smelling hay to Adam, who stood upon a wagon to receive it, with Small Porges perched up beside him. A week had elapsed since Bellew had found his way to Dapplemere, a week which had only served to strengthen the bonds of affection between him and his nephew, and to win over sharp-eyed, shrewd little Miss Priscilla to the extent of declaring him to be "first, a gentleman, Anthea, my dear, and secondly, what is much rarer nowadays, a true man." A week, and already he was hail fellow well met with everyone about the place, for who was proof against his unaffected gaiety, his simple, easy, good fellowship? So he laughed, and joked as he swung his pitchfork, awkwardly enough to be sure, and received all hints and directions as to its use, in the kindly spirit they were tendered. And Anthea, watching him from her shady corner, sighed once or twice, and catching herself so doing, stamped her foot at herself, and pulled her sunbonnet closer about her face. "No, Adam," he was saying, "depend upon it, there is nothing like exercise, and of all exercise, give me a pitchfork." "Why, as to that, Mr. Bellew, sir," Adam retorted, "I say, so be it, so long as I ain't near the wrong end of it, for the way you do 'ave a flourishin' and a whirlin' that theer fork is fair astonishin', I do declare it be." "Why, you see, Adam, there are some born with a leaning towards pitchforks, as there are others born to the pen, and the palette, and things, but for me, Adam, the pitchfork every time," said Bellew, mopping his brow. "If you was to try and 'andle it more as if it was a pitchfork now, Mr. Bellew, sir," suggested Adam, and, not waiting for Bellew's laughing rejoinder, he chirruped to the horses, and the great wagon creaked away with its mountainous load, surmounted by Adam's grinning visage, and Small Porges's golden curls, and followed by the rest of the merry voiced haymakers. Now it was that, turning his head, Bellew espied Anthea watching him, whereupon he shouldered his fork, and, coming to where she sat upon a throne of hay, he sank down at her feet with a luxurious sigh. She had never seen him without a collar before, and now she could not but notice how round, and white, and powerful his neck was, and how the muscles bulged upon arm, and shoulder, and how his hair curled in small, damp rings upon his brow. "It is good," said he, looking up into the witching face above him, "yes, it is very good to see you idle, just for once." "And I was thinking it was good to see you work, just for once." "Work!" he exclaimed, "my dear Miss Anthea, I assure you I have become a positive glutton for work. It has become my earnest desire to plant things, and grow things, and chop things with axes, to mow things with scythes. I dream of pastures, and ploughs, of pails and pitchforks by night, and by day, reaping hooks, hoes, and rakes are in my thoughts continually, which all goes to show the effect of this wonderful air of Arcadia. Indeed, I am as full of suppressed energy these days as Adam is of the old Adam. And, talking of Adam, reminds me that he has solemnly pledged himself to initiate me into the mysteries of swinging a scythe to-morrow morning at 5 o'clock. Yes, indeed, my heart bounds responsive to the swish of a scythe in thick grass, and my soul sits enraptured upon a pitchfork." "How ridiculous you are!" she laughed. "And how perfectly content!" he added. "Is anyone ever quite content?" she sighed, glancing down at him wistful eyed. "Not unless they have found Arcadia," he answered. "Have you, then?" "Yes." He nodded complacently. "Oh yes, I've found it." "Are you sure?" "Oh, quite sure." "Arcadia," she repeated, wrinkling her brows. "What is Arcadia, and where?" "Arcadia," answered Bellew, watching the smoke rise up from his pipe with a dreamy eye, "Arcadia is the Promised Land, the land that everyone tries to find some time or other, and, maybe, anywhere." "And how came you to find it?" "By the most fortunate chance in the world." "Tell me," said Anthea, taking a wisp of hay, and beginning to plait it in dexterous brown fingers. "Tell me how you found it." "Why then, you must know, in the first place," he began in his slow, even voice, "that it is a place I have sought for in all my wanderings, and I have been pretty far afield. But I sought it so long, and so vainly, that I began to think it was like the El Dorado of the old adventurers, and it never existed at all." "Yes," said Anthea, busy with her plaiting. "But, one day, Fate, or Chance, or Destiny, or their benevolent spirit, sent a certain square shouldered waggoner to show me the way, and, after him, a very Small Porges, bless him! to lead me into this wonderful Arcadia." "Oh, I see!" nodded Anthea, very intent upon her plaiting. "But there is something more," said Bellew. "Oh?" said Anthea. "Shall I tell you?" "If it is very interesting." "Well then, in this delightful land there is a castle, grim, embattled, and very strong." "A castle?" said Anthea, glancing up suddenly. "The castle of Heart's Desire." "Oh!" said she, and gave all her attention to her plaiting again. "And so," continued Bellew, "I am waiting, very patiently, until, in her own good time, she who rules within, shall open the gate to me, or bid me go away." Into Bellew's voice had crept a thrill no one had ever heard before. He leaned nearer to her, and his dreamy eyes were keen now, and eager. And she, though she saw nothing of all this, yet, being a woman, knew it was there, of course, and, for that very reason, looked resolutely away. Wherefore, once again, Bellew heartily wished that sunbonnets had never been invented. So there was silence, while Anthea stared away across the golden cornfields, yet saw nothing of them, and Bellew looked upon those slender, capable fingers that had faltered in their plaiting, and stopped. And thus, upon the silence, there broke a sudden voice shrill with interest. "Go on, Uncle Porges, what about the dragons? Oh, please go on, there's always dragons in 'Enchanted Castles, you know, to guard the lovely Princess. Aren't you going to have any dragons that hiss, you know, and spit out smoke and flames? Oh, do please have a dragon!" And Small Porges appeared from the other side of the haymow, flushed, and eager. "Certainly, my Porges," nodded Bellew, drawing the small figure down beside him. "I was forgetting the dragons, but there they are, with scaly backs, and iron claws, spitting out sparks and flames, just as self-respecting dragons should, and roaring away like thunder." "Ah!" exclaimed Small Porges, nestling closer to Bellew, and reaching out a hand to Auntie Anthea, "that's fine! Let's have plenty of dragons." "Do you think a dozen would be enough, my Porges?" "Oh yes, but suppose the beautiful Princess didn't open the door? What would you do if you were really a wandering knight who was waiting patiently for it to open? What would you do then?" "Shin up a tree, my Porges." "Oh, but that wouldn't be a bit right, would it, Auntie?" "Of course not," laughed Anthea, "it would be most unknightlike, and very undignified." "'Sides," added Small Porges, "you couldn't climb up a tree in your armour, you know." "Then I'd make an awful good try at it," nodded Bellew. "No," said Small Porges, shaking